Hey friends, this is Laura with Potpourri of Life, and what I'm here to talk about today is eggs. What can you do for an egg substitute? And that's something that we have to think about because the pricing of eggs are going up so high that consumers are not able to buy them. And I think we need to be mindful of, okay, there's ways to fight back inflation. And if you don't have chickens and you don't have access to them, you don't have eggs, you can't afford that, there are some things that you can do to replace your eggs. Now, one of the things I did is I dehydrated a bunch of eggs. This was before we got our eggs, before we got our chickens and before they started laying, because I like to bake. So, but these, when they're dehydrated, and you can purchase dehydrated eggs, what you do is you just take 1 tablespoon of dried egg and 2 tablespoons of water. You mix it up, and this is something you can use for scrambled eggs. You can also use it in your baking, but this is the one thing I know you can use as an egg replacement for scrambled eggs. So that's an option. They do also sell an egg replacement on the grocery store shelves. You have to look for it. If you're not aware of it, that's how you do it. And I introduced my daughter to it last spring. And so I told her, just have this on hand in case you ever need eggs or something. So she has that as a backup. But it is very helpful. And most especially if you see a good deal, you don't want to hoard eggs because then they could go bad. But you can dehydrate eggs, and those can be used in scrambled eggs. Let's go on to the next thing. I have a couple of cards here that are left in my filing box, because what I have in my recipe box is I keep notes on what I can use for substitutes when I don't have something. And it's usually when I'm in the middle of baking something and I really don't want to go to the store. Even though I have a store close by, I don't like to leave in the middle of baking. So that's why I have these. Who knew that it would be handy for now? All right, one thing you can do is if you like avocados, you can mash avocados to about 1/4 cup, and you can replace 1 egg with 1/4 cup of mashed avocado. And you just mash it until it's nice and smooth. Don't leave it lumpy, just kind of mash it really good, or use a little bit of a blender, a whisk, or whatever, and you can use that as 1 egg. So you might have to use 2 if you want to bake some muffins, pancakes, whatever it is that you're trying for a breakfast food or baked item. You can use apple cider vinegar. And I did take some out. And what else you can use is you can use white vinegar. But I made some white wine vinegar because I was using some white wine in a stir fry I was making many months ago. And I really didn't like the flavor of the white wine. Plus, I'm not one to drink wine. There's a few things that I do like, but I'm not one to drink it. So because I didn't like it, I took it and I made a vinegar out of it. And yes, you can make vinegar yourself out of wine. If you don't want to finish it, you don't like it, make a vinegar out of it. I guess I'll have to do a video on that. Another thing that you can do is flaxseed. Let's see, I have some flaxseed. This here are the actual flax seeds. And what it is you have to grind it in your pestle. That's what you're going to have to do. If you don't want to grind it, you don't have a pestle, whatever, you can actually get ground flaxseed. And that's a good replacement. And what you do with that is you use 3 tablespoons of warm water, not cold, warm water, a tablespoon of the ground flaxseed, and then let it stand for 10 minutes to absorb, and then you have a 1 egg replacement. So that is an option. Flaxseed is expensive right now, but if you get a small package, that might last you for a little bit until you can get a dozen eggs. Can you believe it? I was going through my notes and I was actually like, oh, I forgot about that. Buttermilk. You can use buttermilk as an egg replacement. I'm hoping some of you already know this stuff. Use 1/4 cup of buttermilk as an egg substitute. And it's just for 1 egg, so 1/4 cup for 1, 1/2 cup for 2 eggs. Now, if you have oil, everybody has this. Okay, I'm making an assumption here. Oil, Oh, maybe you don't have the next one. Baking powder. If you don't bake, you might not have it. I have baking powder too. And then water. Those 3 items can make 1 egg. So what you would do is 1.5 tablespoons of oil, your choice. I'm not going to make you go buy the premium oils. Whatever you have in your cupboard. A teaspoon, just a teaspoon of baking powder. And you can get the baking powder, they come, or they used to, they come in a little red tin. Though that lasts me forever because I don't use baking powder in a lot of things. I use it, but not a lot. And then 1.5 tablespoons of water. Okay, I babbled a little bit in there, so I'm going to repeat this recipe. It's for 1 egg. 1.5 tablespoons of oil, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1.5 tablespoons of water. Mix that up, blend it up really well, and that's an egg replacement. So if you want to, double that up. Another thing that you can do, believe it or not, plain yogurt. Now I get plain Greek yogurt. It's something that I eat, and I add in my own flavorings because I don't want the sugars that or the preservatives and all that other stuff. And you can make your own yogurt too. And believe it or not, my chickens like yogurt. I used to give it to them more often, but now I just give it to them once or twice a week, and they just gobble it up, and then their beaks are all full of yogurt. It's actually kind of cute. But use yogurt. And how much do you use? 1/4 cup for 1 egg, and it's binding and a moisturizer. It kind of moistens the item that you're baking. So yogurt's a great one to use. Now, if you have creamy nut butter, like peanut butter, almond butter, cashew butter. Ooh, cashew butter sounds best. What you can do is you take 3 tablespoons of that butter, and that's a good replacement for an egg. And you can do that. Say you're making a banana bread. I'm thinking in my head, might not work for you, that would be a delightful added flavor to a banana bread or banana muffins, whatever. So think about that. Instead of the eggs, use 3 tablespoons per egg that you would need. Applesauce. This is a common one to replace eggs. It's 1/4 cup of applesauce per egg, and that's the best. It's great for baking, and it's used as a leavening. Anything with the leavening in it, you can use that. So 1/4 cup of applesauce. Guess what else you can use? Bananas. That's right. These will not be used as an egg replacement. We just got these today. But if your bananas are starting to go bad and you're ready to throw them out to the compost, well, hopefully they're not that bad. But if they're just getting kind of past the stage where you prefer them, then what you do is you take them and you mash them up into 1/4 cup increments. Put them in the freezer. And then you have an egg replacement. And if you end up wanting to make banana breads and you have eggs on hand, you can still use that mashed banana. So it's a twofer. You can use that mashed banana for banana bread, actually 3, or smoothies, or each 1/4 cup equals an egg. And that's all you do. It gives a good rise to your baked goods. Okay, card 2. All right. Do you have chia seed? Chia! I can't forget that commercial from when I was a little girl. It's great for baked goods, but it does make them denser. It's good for quick breads. Hey friends, sorry about that. It looked like my battery wanted to die. So I had to replace it. So I'm back, and what I wanted to do, and I think I was at chia seed. So you need 1 tablespoon of chia seed, 1/3 cup of water, and you let it stand for 15 minutes. And I believe I did say it does make your baked goods denser. It's great for quick breads and brownies and stuff like that. So if you have a package on the shelf that you want to cook up because you're so discouraged, you can use this as a substitute. So for 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of chia seed, 1/3 cup of water, and you let it stand for 15 minutes. Chia seed also makes a fabulous pudding, and I'll share that. It's a real healthy pudding that I've made, and it's been a while since I've made it, so it's a chocolate pudding, yum yum. So I will be sure to make sure I share that in a future video. Okay, the next one. For those of you who like silken tofu and it's in your refrigerator, you can actually use that. It's a 1/4 cup of pureed silken tofu. So you just want to get it all nice and mixed up really well. It's good for desserts with leavening agents such as baking soda or powder. So if they have those in it, it'll be perfect for that. Another thing is, and I didn't have any arrowroot powder on hand, but if you do, that's another thing to use. So 3 tablespoons of water and 2 tablespoons of arrowroot powder. Mix those together and that would be great for a 1 egg substitute. A 1/4 cup of canned pure pumpkin puree. You can also use, if you preserve your pumpkins and you bake them and you have the puree and you put it in the freezer, you can use that as well. So 1/4 cup of canned pumpkin puree. It's 1 egg. Another 1 egg equals 1 tablespoon of soy protein that you might use in a protein drink or something like that. You can use 1 tablespoon there and 3 tablespoons of water, and that provides more binding and moisture. So that's just 1 egg, 1 tablespoon soy protein, and 3 tablespoons of water. Now, I don't have any carbonated water, but I'm almost tempted to go get some. A 1/4 cup of carbonated water. If you have that on hand, that would replace, a 1/4 cup would be in place of an egg when you're baking. Who knew? It's been on my notes, but I've never gone so far that I would need that. I've used applesauce, I've used bananas, I've used different stuff like that, but I have not used carbonated water. Now, this one might be new for many. It's called aquafaba. And if you don't know what that is, for those of you who make baked beans or you make chili from canned beans, that liquid that's in there, that's what aquafaba is. And what you do is you take 3 tablespoons of that, and you can use that with some water, and you can make enough for an egg substitute. You know what? If you're making baked beans or you're making a chili and you save a little bit of that, and then maybe make a cornbread, a homemade cornbread, how fabulous would that be so that you're not wasting all that liquid? That is an option, and it would probably make your cornbread taste delightful. Let's see, and that can come from any canned beans as well as rehydrated beans, so the ones that you make from dried beans. So you see, folks, there are options out there. Unfortunately, it's going to require a little extra work, but I think that's part of what happens in life, is when things aren't going the way we are so used to, when we end up going without something, we have to think outside the box and we have to work. We have to do that. So hopefully this was helpful to you. I'm hoping that you took some notes and that you might consider some of these that sounded good. The only one that I know that can replace your eggs, you can get egg substitute on the baking shelves. You can get dehydrated or freeze-dried eggs. Those items will be great for scrambled eggs. And if you dehydrated some, that would work. I didn't dehydrate many, but I guess I didn't expect the egg situation to be this long, but it is, and that's the kind of thing that we all have to think about. Other things, say you really want fresh eggs, you can barter with people. If they have hens and they're laying, there are options for both of you to kind of barter for one another. And but I'm thinking that a lot of people might not even, there's some people that might not want to go out on a cold wintry day, but it's a great day to bake. These are some things that many people, there's got to be at least 1 or 2 of these items on your shelves. Like, consider the apple cider vinegar. If you drink that as an immune booster, then you might have it on hand and you can use it in your egg substitution. So I hope this was helpful, because that was my goal. And my goal for my whole channel is to be helpful, insightful, encouraging, and uplifting. And the last thing I want to see is people get discouraged about what is on the shelves. And it's hard. Dave and I went this morning to get our weekly stuff, and I got the birds some kale, and I buy kale for me too. And, it's just one of those things you start looking, and somebody had said, we don't typically buy animal crackers, but I like to have them on hand for the grandkids. And somebody had shared that they went to Walmart and their 24-ounce bag of animal crackers was like almost $6. I'm like, I looked at David, I said, last time we bought those, and obviously a long time ago, it was like $2 for the big bag. I said, we need to check when we go to the grocery store tomorrow. And we did. It's far less to buy it at your grocery store. To get the 24 ounces, we had to buy 2 small ones. It was still like, I think he said it was like $5 for the 2. So to me, that's expensive. So I would rather bake those cookies. But we got them just so that we had them, and we're not going to open them because neither one of us desire to. But those are actually a nice cookie to have on hand if you're going to buy something prepackaged, because you can put peanut butter on it and it can add a little bit of protein for your children. And whereas other cookies like Oreos, I really haven't bought cookies, chocolate chips and all the other different cookies that you buy prepackaged, they have a lot of sugars and preservatives in them. There's preservatives in the animal crackers for sure, but you can make it a little bit better by putting some peanut butter on it for the kids. I looked at celery today. I've told my husband I can't wait until I start growing celery, and I'm so glad that I dehydrated some and I canned some, because for a bunch that I used to be able to spend $1 for, it was almost $4. I said, I'm glad I did what I did. I'm glad I had the forethought to do that. And so I'm looking forward to my garden, because yes, I'm buying the kale and I buy some lettuce and I buy different stuff, but some things I just say, no, I'm not going to do that, because I think it's crazy. Avocados are not too bad. The bananas weren't bad. They were 49 cents. They haven't gone down below 49 cents in a long time. So I just figured, okay, that's the norm. It's nothing horrible. So keep in mind as you're shopping that eggs are not going to be the only thing that you're going to be struggling with. And so it's really important to start thinking about, what can I do in place of an egg? All right, so we can make scrambled eggs. It may not be a fried egg. But what about, instead of eggs for breakfast, that you make a healthy pancake or muffins, or maybe just some cornbread? That can work too. And if you've got potatoes, you can brown up some hash browns and stuff like that. And that's what I did for my husband today. He was asking me, what are you going to make for lunch? And I said, I don't know, because I had that headache. I did that video about the headache and was like, I didn't want to do much. So what I did was I diced up a potato and I fried it up, and I had that all done. And I chopped mine up really fine so it browns up really nice. And then I threw in some eggs. And if we didn't have eggs, I would have used the egg substitute, because what I end up doing is I mix it in like scrambled eggs anyway. So I hope that you are encouraged. Do not be discouraged by what's going on in the grocery stores or in places around you. Yes, the prices are going up, but think twice about, do you really need that item that you're picking up? Is there a replacement for you that you can use? You don't always have to go name brand, and you don't always have to buy prepackaged. Making your own cookies, they're so much better. And not only that, and the preservatives in the prepackaged make your cookies last in the cookie jar. That is, if they stay in the cookie jar. But if you want your homemade cookies to last, because those are the ones that kind of disappear fastest, what we do is we take the dough and we put it in the freezer, and we just make 6 at a time. And that is something that you can do as well, because we don't need to be consuming cookies all the time. So hopefully that was insightful. I hope that you have a great day, and may God bless you.